Hello, and welcome to the Titus Timeout podcast. I am Jose Palma. I am a senior application engineer for the grills, registers, and diffuser products. In this episode, I'm going to discuss some of the industry standards Titus uses on a daily basis. In previous podcasts, we have discussed some ASHRAE standards in detail, specifically Standard 55 and Standard 170. This podcast will give you more of a bird's eye view of the standards we use not only from ASHRAE, but from other institutions. First of all, what is ASHRAE? ASHRAE is a global society dedicated to advance the science of heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration to serve humanity and promote a sustainable world. It is a worldwide organization, so now it's no longer just American. But first, we're going to look at prescribing standards. Those included Standard 55, which describes the minimum requirements to achieve acceptable thermal comfort for occupants within the space. Standard 62.1, which describes minimum requirements for ventilation and acceptable indoor air quality, also in an occupied space. Then Standard 90.1, which describes minimum requirements for energy-efficient designs for buildings. Standard 170, which has been providing guidance and minimum ventilation requirements for healthcare facilities. Next, we'll look at the methods of testing, MOT standards. Standard 70, which describes the method of testing the performance of air outlets and air inlets, which I am currently the chair of this committee, and will have a new release that will be published by the end of 2019. This standard tests, for example, static and total pressure, throw, drop, spread, as well as sound generation and inlets or outlets. Then we have Standard 79, which describes the method of testing for fan coil units. This standard is open for revision currently. This standard will test for pressure across the coils, for coil performance, heating and cooling capacities, and sound generation. Then we have Standard 130, which is the method of testing air terminals. This standard is also being revised. This standard will test for pressure drop, fan capacity, inlet K factors, temperature sensing, and inlet conditions. And one of the newest standards is Standard 200, which describes the method of testing chill beam systems. After this standard is approved, it will go into continuous maintenance. This standard will test for sound, throw, heating and cooling capacities, and induction ratio. Now we look at standards from a different society. ASHRAE. What is ASHRAE? Which stands for Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute. ASHRAE covers what are called rating standards. With those standards, we include Standard 410. This standard rates the performance of heating and cooling coils. Standard 440, which describes the performance rating of room fan coils. Standard 880, which describes the performance rating of air terminals. And finally, we look at Standard 885, which describes the procedure for estimating occupied space sound levels in the applications of air terminals and air outlets. All these standards are applied in different ways. First, the prescribing standards tell the engineer what the minimum requirements for different applications are. Then the method of testing standards tells the manufacturer how to test products. And then the rating standards tells the manufacturers how to present the data in a consistent format so the engineers can make the best selections based on true and real information. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thanks for taking a time out with us.